Are you guys hearing me?
I can hear you, Tharid. Good afternoon.
Okay. I was inquiring whether when is the session really starting? Because I'm seeing only 8 of us, or how many of us?
No worries. We're starting. We are not going to wait for forever for people to join. We normally start 2:10, so it's 2:13, so it's just good to go.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you.
Right. The rest will find the recordings or find us in the middle of the session. So good afternoon once again to everyone. Today's session is one of those most important conversations that we will be having throughout this fellowship. And I say that intentionally because many people spend years preparing to become effective professionals. They spend years to becoming employable, but a few people struggle with being effective on their jobs or being effective professionals. And there is a major difference between being employable and being an effective professional. Many people believe that professional success is determined by education, determined by certificates, determined by technical skills or experience. But when you observe workplaces carefully, you begin to realize there is something much deeper than that goes beyond the surface, right? There are some highly qualified people, they struggle to be professionals in their role. There are some talented individuals, they remained stagnant in the same place, in the same career for so long. Some very intelligent people quietly destroy opportunities because of emotional immaturity, because of poor communication, because of their inability to work with others very well in the different work settings, because of lack of professionalism, because of being defensive in the workplace, because of ego, also because of failure to adapt to the different work contexts. And you realize that the workplace does not only test your competence, it tests your character, your emotional intelligence, your discipline, your professionalism, your attitude under pressure, your consistency, as well as your ability to navigate relationships wisely. And honestly, many careers are not destroyed by lack of intelligence because, yeah, when you look at everybody, you see that everyone is intelligent at their level, right? But many careers are damaged by attitudes, emotional reactions, poor judgment, lack of accountability, and inability to handle professional environments maturely. So today we are not simply discussing how to get a job and all that. We are basically discussing how do you survive professionally? How do you grow professionally? How do you build trust in the workplace? How do you navigate difficult workplace dynamics? How do you become the kind of professional people genuinely respect and value in the workplace? Because eventually, in every workplace, people begin asking certain silent questions about you. Can this person be trusted? Can this person handle pressure maturely? Can this person communicate professionally? Can this person work effectively with others? Can this person be relied upon consistently? And those silent questions often determine your growth, leadership opportunities, trust in the workplace, your recommendation, promotion, and long term career success. So today I want this to be interactive, and as you listen and take it beyond this discussion, beyond the slides, beyond what we're saying here. You should be able to reflect honestly on the kind of person that you are becoming, the kind of professional that you are becoming, the kind of habits that you are building, the kind of reputation that you are creating in the workplace, and the behavior that either support or quietly sabotage your future. Those are the kind of things that you should be reflecting on, because opportunities may open those doors for you, but workplace intelligence often determine how far you go once those doors are open. So I have I have two scenarios I'm going to say on my screen that I wanted us to discuss. So before we go any further, so we're going to discuss these scenarios. The first scenario is the difficult supervisor. So I'm going to read through and then you respond to these questions. One or two people respond to these questions. So let's say you are 3 months into a new job that you've worked very hard to get, and your supervisor is a highly skilled but extremely difficult to work with kind of person. He or she criticizes your work harshly in meetings, rarely appreciate your effort, sometimes communicate rudely under pressure, and frequently give urgent tasks at the last minute. You are becoming emotionally exhausted and beginning to lose confidence in your work. However, you still need a job, you want to grow professionally, and reacting emotionally could damage your reputation. So the question is, if this was you, how would you handle this situation professionally without damaging your emotional well-being? Number two, at what point would you adapt? At what point will you communicate this? At what point will you consider leaving? And the last one, how do you maintain professionalism when leadership behavior is very difficult? Nice. So I'm going to leave this here. And if you have anything you'd like to share, please go ahead and by show of hand, because the questions are many, just consider just having a discussion instead of typing things in the chat. And please always mute yourself when you join the session. We don't want noise. Anyone? If this was you in this scenario, how would you handle this situation? Will you stand up and fight? Do you quit your job? I want to believe that we are all professionals and people who are working, please. Yes, Tarif. How would you deal with a very difficult supervisor? Tarif, go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah. My background was a little bit noisy when I was listening to the question, and now I'm in a quiet place. So the question was that what will you do based on your explanation? Because I've seen nobody has raised his hand, and this might be a class, so people need to share. So can I
Sure.
see the question once again?
Sure. Let me just share it. Yeah. So these are the questions. You
Okay.
generally, in summary, have a very difficult supervisor, somebody who is constantly criticizing you. Does
Hmm.
rarely appreciate your effort. Even if you've done well, they rarely tell you that yes, you've done well today, right? A number of issues going on with this supervisor. So the question is, how would you handle this kind of supervisor in the workplace? Do you stand up to him and start fighting? Do you report him? Do you quit your job? Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will not quit my job simply because I came through a process. And secondly, I will not fight uh, simply because there are labels or there are channels of handling things. Okay. I'll call him for a meeting. I'll tell him what my position is. Then sometimes I like constructive argument. We talked about it. If he wins, then this is where I'll see myself as someone not doing the right thing. But if he fails, then I'll call for another person to be three of us, say that this thing is sorted out, then we go ahead as sorted. So this is what I'll basically do instead of fighting or instead of quitting the job. I'll not do because such people are there in workplaces all the time, and you will not just quit simply because someone has been harsh to you or is not in good terms with you. So this is a workplace and things need to be discussed. And in a workplace also there are rules and there are also jobs description here and there. So these things need to be sorted in the hierarchy. I have to start with him. If he fails or she fails to understand, we involve the third party. After that, then we find another way forward. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much for that contribution. Anybody has a different approach? Yes, John, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
As for
afternoon.
me, if that is to be my employer, I think that the best thing I can do is to sit with him down and then I talk to him. I tell him what he's doing and is not pleasing me. And then I will also have to tell him what he's doing that is not good for the workers in a professional way, such that if he's a good person, he might improve. But then if he fails to change and he keeps on giving me hard time in doing my work, that is when I will have to quit the job because I cannot continue working in a place where my efforts are not appreciated. Even after doing something good, they don't give you thanks. They don't say you've done something good. That one means that all your efforts are just useless in the workplace. So that is what I can best do if that condition is to affect me in any way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution, Jacqueline. Now let's move to another scenario altogether. So the second scenario is in terms of workplace ethics and loyalty conflict. So you discovered that a close colleague of yours, this is somebody that you work with very well, somebody that you consider a friend, probably you do a number of things together, right? You discover that this person was manipulating some reports just to make him or her seem that he's the one who is doing the best, he's a best performer, right? And by doing so, there are no major issues, right? There are no major damages yet, but you are aware that this behavior is ethical and not wanted, right? So you have a conflict. If you report this person, it will damage your friendship. If you remain silent, you are compromising your integrity. And probably when he's caught later on and they found out that you knew and you didn't report, you could also be in trouble. And if you confront the person directly, you could create tension at work because now you will fail to work with this person. That is a second scenario. If this was you, what would you do in this situation? Will you report the person? Will you confront the person or remain silent? In any case, you can answer why you choose not to, right? And does loyalty to colleague ever justify silence about unethical behavior? How will you be able to address any ethical issues without creating unnecessary conflict? Anybody wants to reflect that? Somebody that you work with closely in the workplace, they're manipulating reports so that they look like they're the best performers. Probably that they're even better than you, but they're your friends, you work well with them. So, do you want to report them? Do you want to keep quiet? Do you want to confront them? What option do you think you would work with and why? Anyone? Is this so complicated? I guess not. Some of us have already been in this kind of situation before now. Just share your thoughts the way they are. Yes, Tom, there is no right or wrong answer in this place.
Yeah, actually,
You are muted. Yes, Joy, please proceed.
Yeah, in according to my opinion, I would call this colleague of mine after seeing what has been happening between us, like in the workplace. I because it's a matter that I'll observe it with my eyes. After observing that, then I'll sit down after looking at the report. What he has written is different from what I've been seeing from him. I'll sit down and call him or her, then we discuss about it. Then if I see it like it's still continuing the same way I didn't want it to happen, I didn't want it to be, then I'll forward the issue to maybe the employer or the person responsible for employing us. That's how I would do it.
Thank you, Joy, for the contribution. Anybody has a different approach? What option would you work with and why? Thanks, Jacqueline, for the contribution in the chat. Nice. So let's proceed with our slides. Great. So before we dive deeper into what we had planned to cover for today, I want each one of us to pause and think honestly about why some people who are highly educated still struggle professionally. Some of these people are people that are within our networks. We work with them, we sit with them. They're our friends, we studied together and all that. Why do you think that they struggle professionally? Why do some people grow rapidly in organizations while others remain stagnant for years? When you join a certain workplace, you realize that some people take 2 years. In 2 years, they have 2 promotions or at least one. But some people, even in 5, 10 years, they've never been promoted. Why do you think that is so? Why do you think technical skills alone sometimes fail to guarantee long-term success? Right? So the truth is, professional success is not only about intelligence, it's about emotional maturity, professionalism, communication, adaptability, self-awareness, discipline, and relationship management at the workplace. And many people spend years developing technical skills, but very few intentionally develop emotional intelligence, workplace awareness, communication maturity, conflict management, or professional discipline. And these are the very things that often determine whether opportunities are sustained or lost. Sometimes the difference between two professionals is not intelligence. It is attitude, emotional control, professionalism, and consistency. Some people lose opportunity because they react emotionally to correction. When you correct them, they become angry, right? Some struggle because they resist learning. They are very rigid. When you tell them, yeah, you have to change how you've been doing things, they resist that. Some damage professional relationship because they do not know how to manage conflict maturely. Some people remain stagnant in the same position at the same job level because, yeah, they are waiting to be pushed constantly instead of taking initiative. The workplace is not just an environment of tasks, it's an environment of expectations, relationships, communication, pressure, and reputation. Every interaction in a workplace communicates something about you. The way you respond to feedback, the way you communicate under pressure, the way you handle deadlines, the way you treat colleagues, the way you carry yourself during difficult moments. All of these things quietly shape your professional identity. And that is why this session is going to be very important for you. Because success is not only about accessing opportunities, it's also about developing the emotional and professional capacity for you to be able to sustain them. So my hope today is for you to begin reflecting not only on what job do I want, but also what kind of professional am I becoming? Because eventually your habits become your reputation, and your reputation becomes your professional identity. So there are a number of areas that we're going to cover today, but by the end of the session, my hope is that you simply don't end up having a lot of information, but you are able to gain awareness in terms of how the workplace truly operates, how professionals grow, how reputations are built, and how opportunities are sometimes quietly damaged without people realizing it. So today's conversation is meant to help you understand that professional growth is not accidental, it is intentional. People focus heavily on qualification but neglect key items like the quality of communication, the maturity in terms of how you manage emotions, professionalism, right, accountability, and relationship management. These are the things that organizations remember most. So throughout the session, I want you to begin developing the ability to navigate the professional environment wisely, especially the one you are currently in. That you should be able to communicate effectively, manage pressure maturely, build healthy professional relationships, and develop habits that support long-term career growth. Because eventually, the technical competence alone is not enough. Organizations and employers these days are looking for people who are dependable, emotionally intelligent, adaptable, trustworthy, and people who are professional. And that is the deeper purpose of today's conversation. So when we talk about workplace intelligence, this is one of the most underrated professional skills. Most people believe that success at work is only about being technically skilled. That if I'm a HR person, I have all HR skills and that is it. That if I have a bachelor's degree, that is it. Or that if I understand the tasks that have been assigned to me, that is it. But when you look at workplaces carefully, you realize a number of things. Some people know the work, but struggle to work with others. Some people are intelligent, but emotionally unstable under pressure. Some people are talented, but they are very difficult to work with. And over time, these are things that begin to affect trust, opportunities, leadership growth, and and your own professional reputation. So workplace intelligence is about the ability for you to understand the people, the systems, communication, culture, expectation, and professional dynamics at any workplace. It's about learning how to work, how to communicate, how to adapt, how to collaborate, and how to lead yourself professionally. Because the workplace is not only a space for tasks, it is a space of relationships, different personalities, emotions, pressure, deadlines, expectations, and accountability. Many people struggle not because they cannot do the work, but because they cannot navigate the environment surrounding the work. That is why technical skills alone are not enough. Technical skills may get you hired, but the workplace intelligence often determines whether you will grow, whether you remain stagnant, or quietly lose opportunities for your career or professional. Why some people some professionals still struggle despite being so skilled. One of the hardest truths for us to accept is this. Some very intelligent people struggle professionally, not because they lack ability, but because they lack professional maturity. Some people struggle because they react emotionally to feedback, they resist accountability, they communicate poorly, or they create tension wherever they go. Others struggle because they can't work effectively in teams. Some people struggle because they lack discipline and consistency. You cannot rely on them. And oftentimes, organizations would rather work with somebody teachable and emotionally intelligent than someone who is highly skilled but difficult to manage. And that is a very difficult truth that most people discover too late. You see, the workplace evaluates more than your qualification. They evaluate your attitude, your emotional control, your professionalism, your communication, your reliability, and your ability to handle pressure. Some opportunities are lost quietly, not because some failed technically, but because some people no longer trust their professionalism or behavior. And that is why self-awareness matters. Because sometimes your greatest professional limitation is not your skill level. It is the behavior you have normalized. And growth is only possible when you become honest enough to recognize those behaviors and and you become intentional enough to improve them. But if you don't take time to actually recognize some of these behaviors and don't work on improving them, then despite you being very skilled, very intelligent, you will struggle in the workplace. Now, for you to be able to work in any workplace, you should be able to understand the culture in the workplace. Every workplace has a culture, even when nobody is explaining it directly. Culture is reflected in communication, leadership behavior, accountability, decision making, relationships, and expectations. When you enter a workplace, one of the first things you must learn is not only what is my role, but also how does this environment function? And this is what professionally intelligent people observe first. They pay attention, they learn the environment before making assumptions. This is important because different workplaces operate differently. Some workplaces are highly formal, others are more flexible. Some workplaces prioritize structure, others prioritize collaboration. Some communicate directly, others communicate more subtly. So maturity for you is learning how to navigate these different environments wisely while still maintaining your values and professionalism. What this means is that you should be able to understand how to function effectively within the professional system. One of the most common mistakes that we mostly make when we enter a new workplace is assuming that everything should work according to your personal preference, right? You even want to say what time you must come to work, how you should submit your report and everything. But in this place, there's already a culture that exists, right? Once you're there, you first of all have to understand what is there. And for you to even be able to bring about a change. For instance, you find a culture that is toxic, it's not good, and you want to bring about a change. You first need to understand what is this culture? How long has it been in existence? And for you to be able to bring about that change, you have to follow a certain formal procedure. You don't just wake up and say, oh yeah, get away with this. This is what you should be doing going forward. You get. It does not work like that. Professional maturity requires adaptability, that you should be able to adapt to the culture of the organization. It requires observation, observe and learn. Check what the team members, the people that you found there, how are they working? Awareness, right? Be aware of everything that is happening around you within the organization. Most people who understand workplace culture often build trust and relationship faster than those who resist everything immediately. Don't just go there on your day one and you are already insulting the existing culture and criticizing and telling people how this is so bad, this is terrible, you mustn't do that, do this. You're on day one. What gives you the authority to do that, right? You've not understood. You don't have to resist everything immediately. Now, let's talk about something that was in our first scenario about working with supervisors. I like to call this managing up. Most times we understand it when we hear something about managing up, we misunderstand. Managing up does not mean manipulation. It does not mean pretending to agree with everything. And it does not mean seeking attention unnecessarily. Managing up means learning how to work with leadership professionally and intelligently. For people who are professionals, they choose to communicate proactively. They clarify expectations. They provide updates. They ask questions and raise concerns respectively. And one of the biggest workplace mistakes is silence. People stay quiet during confusion. They avoid asking questions because they fear appearing incompetent. Then the problem escalates. Professional maturity includes communication. If expectations are unclear, act. If challenge arises, communicate it early. If you need support, express it professionally. There is no one at the workplace who is a mind reader. And one thing many organizations value deeply is reliability. People trust professionals or employees who communicate clearly, follow through consistently, and take responsibilities proactively, right? And it is this kind of trust that often creates mentorship, opportunities for growth, recommendations, job promotions, and leadership growth as well. Because they know that you're somebody that they can basically rely on. It doesn't mean that the supervisors are people that you can generally walk and talk to. Some of them are very difficult, but they are difficult in terms of their own personality. That is who they are, right? You cannot change who they are, but you can make them work within what the organization provides for. And that is why it's important for you to understand the culture and also go deeper to understand what does the policy look like? What does it provide for? What kind of support do I have available? What kind of structures are available for me to be able to succeed on this role? And those are the things that you should give yourself time to learn and understand, so that even if you end up with a difficult supervisor, you will know how to manage them. Because you are not there to change their personality, to change who they are. But you are there to ensure that you are able to work with them and deliver on your task. Let's also talk about working in teams. No matter how talented you are, you will rarely succeed completely alone. The workplace requires collaboration. And collaboration requires emotional intelligence, because you will work with people who have different personalities, different communication styles, different work speeds, different emotional responses, different perspectives, different ideas, different background, cultures, and everything. In the workplace, some people will challenge you, some will misunderstand you, some will frustrate you, some will inspire you. The goal is not to avoid the differences. The goal is to learn how to work effectively despite the differences. Maturity in this case is learning how to communicate respectively, listening actively, managing disagreements professionally, and contributing positively even in difficult environments. Strong professionals understand that teamwork is not about ego. It's about effectiveness, collective effectiveness. Some people struggle in teams because they want recognition more than collaboration. You always want to hear that, yes, so and so is the best. If it wasn't for so and so, this wouldn't have happened. If it is not so you prioritize being recognized over and above collaboration. but there could be a more effective and efficient way of doing this in a team setting that will yield a better result like the one that you've produced. But because your ego will not allow it, because you feel like, yes, I must show that I'm the best. And then you will find it difficult to work within a team. Some people still struggle because they personalize disagreements too quickly. We said in this workplace, these are individuals that came from different backgrounds, right? And they will not always agree with whatever it is that you're saying. When they say, no, don't take it personally, it has nothing to do with you. It's just that they have their own perception. So what can you do? Can you work in a team? Can you collaborate? Can you put all the ideas in one place? Do not force your ideas onto people. Provide yours with a justification. Let the rest of the team members provide theirs with justification. At the end of the day, the end goal is that we must work towards achieving the goals of the organization. Emotional intelligence teaches you how to separate issues from emotions, disagreement from disrespect, and correction from personal attack. If someone corrects you, don't think that this is a personal attack, right? Because it could be just a matter of ensuring that we do not waste the organization's resources. We do not waste time. We are all doing this for the good of the organization. That could be the meaning of a correction, and not to make you look incompetent, look like a fool or something like that. Your ability to work with people may become just as important as your technical competence, because eventually organizations promote people who can collaborate, communicate, and lead relationships effectively. And because we just said that the workplace is made up of people with different personalities, different backgrounds, culture, upbringing, there are bound to be conflicts. So it's important for you to understand how you can manage conflicts in the workplace. Just the basics, because it is somebody else's role to manage the entire organization and any associated conflict. But for you as a person, what can you do at your level? Because conflict is normal. Whenever human beings work together, differences will exist. The problem is not disagreement. The problem is how the disagreement is handled. Some of us become very defensive immediately. Some of us avoid difficult conversations completely. Some of us gossip instead of communicating directly. Some of us react emotionally before even understanding the situation fully. But emotional intelligence teaches us something different. That you must learn how to pause before reacting. Mature professionals understand that emotional reactions can damage relationships, trust, opportunities, and reputation. So when you talk about conflict management, we are not talking about a situation where you are winning. or somebody is winning. No. Conflict management is about protecting professionalism while solving problems effectively. You must listen before reacting, seek clarity before making assumptions, communicate respectively, focus on issues rather than personalities, and also remain solution-oriented. And I always say that one of the strongest signs of maturity is the ability to remain calm during emotionally charged situations. If you are in a very dangerous situation where tempers are very high, things are flying, emotions are everywhere, right? Your level of maturity will be measured by how you handle that situation. Because your level of professionalism is tested most during pressure, during disagreement, and during frustrations or frustrative situations in the workplace. When we say you should be mature, we are not saying that there won't be disagreement. But maturity is the ability for you to remain professional when there is disagreement. During the disagreement, you remain professional. Let's also look about professional ethics and integrity at the workplace. Integrity is one of the greatest professional assets that you can ever build in your career. Because eventually, people stop evaluating only your skills. They begin to evaluate your character. Can this person be trusted? Can this person handle responsibilities honestly? Can this person remain ethical even under pressure? When we talk about integrity, in simple terms, it is what you do when nobody's watching. Integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. It is honesty. It is accountability. It is consistency. It's responsibility and ethical decision making. In every workplace, integrity matters deeply. People remember whether you keep your word, whether you take responsibility, whether you misuse information for your own personal gain, whether you respect confidentiality, or whether your behavior remains consistent. And this kind of reputation are things that you build slowly through small daily actions. And one thing many people do not realize is this, that your skills will just open for you the doors, but integrity is what determines whether those doors remain open, right? Because many employers will be able to tolerate mistakes, but you will realize that almost none of them tolerate dishonesty, irresponsibility, lack of integrity. any of this destroys trust very fast. And once trust is damaged, it's very difficult for you to rebuild it. Because even if you actually do get it back, it's not fully, because you would still be questioned. Even if you're doing something now in good faith, they are always reminded by the fact that you lied at some point. You were dishonest. You were irresponsible. You lacked integrity. So any results that come out of you will be questioned, right? And that's why we say it's very difficult for it to be rebuilt 100% once it's damaged, once it's broken. I'm sure most of us are very familiar with the term probation period. So normally when they give you an employment opportunity, they give you what they call probation period. This is like a 3-month period in most cases, but depending on the organization, on the context, on the country, the period may vary, but they normally provide a probation period. So we're working with 3 months, those are about 90 days. So your first 90 days matters more than many people realize. Because during this period, there are a number of people who are quietly observing you. They are observing your attitude, your willingness to learn, your professionalism, your communication, your humility, and your consistency. Some of us, when we enter workplaces, we try too hard to impress everybody, the bosses, the supervisors. We want to appear knowledgeable immediately. But for some, the situation is different. We want to understand something very important, that in the first 90 days, they are not about proving perfection. They are not about making you seem that you are the best candidate. You already got the job, right? So your first 90 days should be about learning intelligently. Observe before assuming. Ask thoughtful questions. Learn the organizational systems. Build relationships intentionally, professional relationships. And remain teachable. Don't brush off anything. Don't say, I already know that. You don't need to teach me anything. Remain teachable. Humility is extremely important during this stage, because sometimes people damage opportunities by allowing ego to block the learning. The workplace rewards people who are adaptable, respectful, curious, and willing to improve. And honestly, your first impression often shapes long-term perception. So during your first 90 days on the job, try as much as possible to communicate professionally. Avoid any workplace gossip or engaging in workplace politics. Respect systems, policies. Remain teachable and focus on building credibility gradually. You're not there to overtake anybody or to pick over somebody's job or to get promotion in 3 months. You are on probation, a number of things don't apply even when you're in probation, because this is basically a testing ground. And just like you are checking to see just like the employer is checking to see how you are fitting within the culture, you are also using this opportunity to check and see how this employer aligns with you and your values as a person. That's why after the probation period, you can choose to quit. Because if you feel like this is not the kind of workplace you want to work in, you can quit. Professionalism is not built in one dramatic moment like that. It is not. It is built through consistency over time. Developing a performance mindset. High-performing employees think differently. In any workplace, you realize that there are employees who are high-performing. There are those who perform averagely, and there are those who are low performers. When you compare those, you realize that those who are high performers think differently. They work differently. They take ownership for their work. They do not wait constantly to be pushed, to be told what to do. They remain disciplined even when supervision is minimal. Whether somebody's there to watch them or not, they are working and delivering. What we mean by a performance mindset is that you are consistent. You do not provide excuses. You prioritize growth over comfort. You prioritize accountability over blame, and discipline over temporary motivation. Most people wait until they feel motivated, but most high-performing employees understand something deeper. Discipline sustains what motivation cannot. We said that motivation is temporary. What if that motivation, the factor that is motivating you, is not there? Then what? Are you going to stop performing? So discipline is that element that sustains you when that motivation is gone. A performance mindset also means that you are seeking improvement continuously. You are learning from your mistakes and taking responsibility for personal growth. And one of the most important truths is this: your career growth will not depend only on talent. It will depend on your attitude, your consistency, your emotional maturity, your level of professionalism, and your willingness to grow continuously. And because eventually, organizations trust people who consistently demonstrate reliability and maturity. Trust is built through small daily actions, not grand speeches, not occasional effort, daily behavior. People trust employees who communicate clearly, meet deadlines, follow through consistently, take responsibility for mistakes, remain respectful under all circumstances, maintain highest level of integrity, professionalism. Trust grows slowly, but it can be damaged quickly. One of the things that most of us underestimate is that people may initially notice your qualifications, right? But over time, they trust in your character. Maybe when you first join in, everybody's excited. Oh yeah, she holds a master's degree. She's this and that. Wow, wow, wow. From this university, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they'll notice that, right? But give it a couple of weeks, that will disappear. Your character is what is left. Employers value people who create stability, reliability, and professionalism within teams. That is why it's important for you to note that professionalism matters even during stressful situations. Because in situations like pressure, frustration, and challenges, that is when your true professional maturity often reflects. I have seen a number of people damage the opportunities, their career, through behaviors they do not even recognize as harmful. I've seen people who have struggled with being defensive, being very emotional in the workplace, poor communication, gossiping in the workplace, engaging in workplace politics. They don't have a sense of accountability and responsibility for the work. They are overly confident to the extent that you can't even correct them. That if you don't tell them what to do, they will sit and wait. Some people struggle because they refuse and confuse friendliness with the lack of professionalism. And some resist feedback because correction feels personal. But growth requires self-awareness. Sometimes your biggest professional limitation is not your technical skill. It is a habit, attitude, or behavior you have normalized. Professional growth requires maturity, reflection, adaptability, humility, and willingness to constantly improve yourself. The strongest professionals are usually not those who think they know everything. They are those that remain teachable. The workplace does not only test your intelligence, it tests your character, your emotional maturity, your communication skills, styles, your discipline, your integrity, and your level of professionalism. Success is not only about being talented, it's about becoming the kind of professional that people trust, that people respect and that people genuinely want to work with. And that kind of professional does not emerge accidentally. No. It is built intentionally through self-awareness, through discipline, through emotional intelligence, through being professional, remaining professional regardless the situation, and through consistent growth. So after today, I don't want you to think only about what job do I want. Think about what kind of professional am I becoming? Because eventually your habits become your reputation, and your reputation becomes your professional identity. Thank you. And up to that point, that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'll stop sharing my screen and get back to you if you have any questions at all. And you feel free to share. No questions, any feedback? Does anything that I've mentioned throughout the presentation have anything to do with the kind of workplace that you have where you're working? Is this something that you've experienced? Is there any lessons that you've learned today that you feel you're going to put into practice? Thanks, Tom, for the feedback. Thanks, Tarir, for the feedback. Thanks, Julius, for the feedback. Let me try to find the attendance so that you can fill it in. So if you have anything else that you would like to share or catch up on that is not part of today's session, you can do that as well. Yes, Maurice, your hands up.
Good afternoon. I
Good
hope you are
afternoon.
getting me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just have an announcement, especially to the fellows concerning tomorrow's event. The session. So I would like to inform all of them to later follow on our WhatsApp. I'll be sharing the link, and each of them should follow them critically. By the time we meet tomorrow, uh, I would like them to open those, create those accounts. Then tomorrow we'll just pick up from there. So that's all I want to let them know. Thank you.
All things. Please endeavor to drop a message on the group as well, since people are very few here, so that everybody gets to get your message. Yes, Jen? Jen, you may proceed. Your hands up. It should be able to work. Just check again, and if you can't, and then you just type your feedback or question on the chat. But you should be able to unmute yourself. The attendance is already there for those who are through. You can fill it in. Thanks, but what for the feedback, yes. Normally people don't talk about this. That's why the build itself is a bit unique, that we are able to cover a number of things that you will normally find people talking about, so that we are all able to build skills and become the professionals that we are. And I also have feedback from Mumba James. James, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate your attendance. And Jen, yes, finally you're here. How can you handle workplace jealousy that arises from high performance? Just like I did mention earlier, that you're working in a place where there are different kinds of people. So jealousy at the workplace is a very real issue, especially if you are a high performing employee. Sometimes when someone is consistent, someone is visible, competent, or growing quickly, it unintentionally triggers insecurity in others, in other staffs. So the difficult part is that high performers often become confused because they assume if I work hard and treat people well, everyone will automatically celebrate my growth. Unfortunately, that is not always how workplaces function. Success can inspire some people, but exposes some level of insecurity in others. What is important is for you to learn how to navigate the workplace jealousy without becoming arrogant, defensive, or emotionally drained. One of the things that I always tell people when they find themselves in this kind of situation is, first of all, stay humble despite your performance. One of the biggest mistakes that high performers make is unintentionally developing superiority energy, that you feel now you are superior. Even if you're competent, avoid showing off excessively, constantly proving yourself that you are the best, correcting others unnecessarily, or making people feel intellectually small, right? Humility, like I said, is what protects relationship. True professionalism is not, I am better than everyone. It is, I am committed to excellence while still respecting other people. People may still feel jealous, but humility will reduce the unnecessary tension in the workplace. Number 2, do not shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. And this is one of my favorites. This is important, right? So because somebody is jealous, you begin to hide your abilities. You start reducing your effort. You also start skipping work, avoiding things, or downplaying yourself because you fear you are making others uncomfortable. The moment you do that, it becomes dangerous. So you should never intentionally sabotage yourself, your growth, just to protect other people's insecurity. No. Remain excellent at your job while staying respectful and emotionally intelligent. Do not apologize for your growth because this is your effort. Just remain grounded, doing your work diligently. Number 3, let your work speak more than your mouth. Don't go about telling everybody that, yes, today I'm the best staff, I got this, I got that. No. Let your work speak. High performers attract less resistance when they are consistent, professional, collaborative, and focused. But when competence is mixed with ego or unnecessary self-promotion, jealousy intensifies. So avoid constantly announcing your achievements, competing unnecessarily, or making success your personality. Number 4 is to build relationships and not rivalries. Some people become isolated because they focus only on performance and neglect relationship. Right? For you, you think that you cannot associate with anybody in the workplace. Your focus should be on performance. And then your relationship begins to suffer. But being intelligent in the workplace also requires emotional intelligence, collaboration, supportiveness, and relationship management. How will you feel if everybody is failing and you are the best, right? Meaning you are not a very good team player. So help others where possible. Acknowledge team contribution and celebrate others too. People will feel less threatened by you if you remain approachable and respectable. Do not react emotionally to jealous behavior. Sometimes jealousy shows up through subtle exclusion, passive aggression, criticism, or gossip, right? And some of us immediately jump into reacting emotionally. Remember, not every battle deserves your energy. Stay professional, stay calm, stay focused, and protect your reputation. And understand that jealousy is often about the other person, not you, right? People have a way of projecting their own insecurity, fear, frustration, or dissatisfaction onto others. So you are basically reminding them of areas where they feel stuck, of the gaps that they have in their life. That doesn't mean you are doing something wrong, right? So do not internalize every negative reaction around your success. Ensure that you maintain integrity and professionalism all the time. I hope that answers your question. Anybody with any further questions, please feel free to. If there's none, thanks Jane for the feedback. If there are no any other questions or feedback, please feel free to exit the class.